Um, Here we go. All right, let's check and make sure. I think we are on, but I'm just going to confirm here on my phone. Yes, we are. Yay! And I'm back in Zoom. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Boomy here. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am super excited to talk to Kat. I am so excited to talk to her. So I know everyone's super busy and we're in holiday crazy mode. So I really appreciate everyone for taking the time and just joining us today. So I'd like to introduce you to Kat Kahn. Thank you for joining us. I'm super excited to have you on. Kat is an Atlas Book Club subscriber, so that's even more extra fun. But she's an attorney, she's a mom, and she's a homeschooling parent. So thank you for joining us, Kat. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and your kids?
Hi, sure. I'm so excited to be here too. We were chatting earlier about how we're such big fans of Atlas Book Club here in this household. We live in Phoenix, Arizona. My husband, Alon, and I have been married for 10 years now, and we have 2 kids. We have Caroline, who is 8, and Adam, who's 5. And we're also due with another child end of January, so we'll be welcoming a baby boy next month, which sounds really imminent when I put it that way. It's all happening, but we're excited. We're both working parents. My husband is in healthcare. He's a gastroenterologist. And as you mentioned, I'm a lawyer. And so we haven't had childcare since March, right? So it's been a struggle, as it has for all of us, right? So we're just really fortunate that I can work from home right now. And so I've been keeping the kids home with me, and it's been a good way to navigate this situation so far for us.
Yeah. Well, first, congratulations. I mean, baby, we have 3, so we have 3 too. I think 3 is like the perfect number.
That's what I tell myself, because the decision has been made, so we're doing it.
You don't have much of a choice, so might as well embrace it. No, I mean, we have 3, and they're spaced by about 20 months. But the good thing is now they, keep each other company. They look out for each other. So I love like that number 3. It's perfect.
Yeah, and my kids are really excited to welcome a baby. Like there's a significant gap because we weren't sure about it, but they're just thrilled.
I love it. I love it. So you have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Yes, so kindergarten and 3rd grade basically is what we're working with this year.
Yeah. And so you're a working mom and you're homeschooling, like.
Yeah, and homeschooling was never part of the plan, right? But a global pandemic has a way of changing our plans.
Yeah. And that's what I'm finding, like a lot of my friends too are making that decision to homeschool. And it's a tough decision, but at the end of the day, I think what I'm learning is like different kids have different learning styles. And for some kids, the virtual learning just doesn't work for them, So why did you make that decision, or how did you come to that realization that homeschooling was going to be the best option for your kids?
It's so true, because it's very child specific. And so with my son, we didn't even consider enrolling him in virtual kindergarten because I knew it would not work for him. So the plan was always to, once we knew that the pandemic had happened and was going to delay school, we decided to homeschool him. And then with my daughter, we decided to try virtual public school. We really like the district we're in. And so I wanted to at least give it a go and see if we could make that work. And because my husband's in healthcare and we have exposure through his job at the hospital, and because we found out over the summer that I was pregnant, so I was at an increased risk for COVID-related complications, we really wanted to limit our source of exposure. So in-person school was just not an option for us. So we were really only looking at virtual programs. So my daughter did about a month of virtual 3rd grade, and it was hard because our district required 7 hours of synchronous time on the computer. And my daughter, my kids are just not used to that much screen time, of course. And I was finding that I was having to spend so much time with her sitting there at the computer that it was kind of counterproductive to keep her enrolled. And it was really disruptive to my work. And she was kind of jealous that her brother was getting to do all these kind of fun projects through homeschool. So after about a month of trying to slog through it, we decided to adapt her situation to the homeschool curriculum that I'd already found for my son that was working. And I took on homeschooling both of them, which has definitely been a challenge, but it allows for more flexibility in my day. We typically I homeschool the kids from 9 to 1, and then they kind of have the afternoon off. They can play, do what they want, and then I can actually work and do my job in the afternoon.
And so that's what I've found talking to other parents who homeschool, is that the amount of time that kids spend in a typical school day, outside of COVID and pandemic and everything, like all the schoolwork, the actual schoolwork that they do actually can be condensed into a few hours. A lot of that in a traditional school setting is more instruction and making sure that everybody's working cooperatively and all that, whereas if you're homeschooling your kids, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 kids, you kind of have the flexibility to condense that school instruction time into a shorter amount of time.
Right, exactly. And a lot of the social media groups that I joined when I decided to homeschool have been really helpful in reinforcing that point, because there's obviously been an explosion of pandemic homeschooling. And so there are a lot of people like me who are brand new to this and kind of are trying to figure out this new way of educating our children. And so it's been nice to have these communities to fall back on Facebook and different social media platforms that have been really reinforcing of the fact that you don't need to have a 7-hour homeschool day. You really don't. There's no point in trying to structure it like a traditional school. And so, there's a lot of self-doubt that creeps in. Am I doing the right thing for my kid? And so it's been nice to be able to have those connections with experienced homeschoolers and recognize that, my kids are really getting a lot out of a 2 or 3 hour school day, probably the same, if not more, than if they were in school for 7 or 8 hours.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like every family is different. Every child is different. At the end of the day, you have to make the best decision for your child, for your family, for your working situation, so and there are hundreds of factors to take into consideration when you're making that decision. So when I do these talks, I like to give parents, who are mostly going to be the people watching, I like for them to walk away with specific tips. So as we go on, I will ask you if you have any tips, and then we'll let the viewers know. And so that way they have something practical that they can leave this conversation and feel like armed with information and resources. So that being said, you mentioned a couple of homeschooling groups that you joined. Can you name a couple of them for people watching who may be interested in that?
Yes, so definitely I would look for geographically specific homeschool groups in your area. So I'm part of a group called Homeschoolers in Arizona, and I really like it because it provides specific resources to kind of local facilities you can use, meetups pre-pandemic. I'm also part of a group called, I think it's called like Secular Education Homeschoolers, because I did not want a faith-based curriculum, and so many homeschool curriculums are faith-based. I'm also part of a group that's, I think it's called like using Netflix and media. Like I would Google, or I would search for Netflix and YouTube homeschoolers. And there's a group that talks all about how you can find free online resources to educate your kids at home, because we take advantage. We have a lot of subscription services like Atlas Book Club, and we use a paying curriculum service, but we also take advantage of a ton of free resources on Netflix, PBS Kids, YouTube. So that Facebook group is awesome because it directs you to those types of educational opportunities that kids can use at home, that parents can work with. Like, we love Emily's Wonder Lab, for example, on Netflix.
Right.
As a way to supplement science. So with all of these streaming platforms, there's a lot of great resources out there for parents.
I love it. I love it. So just to tell everyone watching, if you have any questions for me or for Kat, please drop them in the comments and we'll keep an eye on the comments and answer questions as we go along. So speaking of Netflix, great segue. I have always, I've said lately, there's so much content on Netflix, globally cultural content, right? So well, let's back it up a little bit. What does global awareness mean to you? And I ask that because, I want to know, and I want us to talk about how you bring in that global studies, that global cultural awareness into your homeschooling curriculum. So, but before we dive into that, I'm just curious, what does that mean to you when someone, talks about raising your child to be globally aware?
I think it's a matter of being connected and appreciating other cultures. Obviously people across countries and cultures now are more connected than we ever have been before, thanks to technology. And so my goal as a parent is to raise children who are curious about other cultures, who embrace other cultures, and who really have an eye for ways that we're different, but also ways that we're the same, right? There's so much, there's so many opportunities to build a bridge between cultures. And so if anything, I'm really trying to raise kids who are just curious and embrace that diversity. And we're a multicultural family. My husband's actually Israeli. He's a dual citizen. So he was born in Israel to an Israeli mom and an American dad. And so, my kids have that in their background. And so we've always been a family that wants to embrace other cultures. And so for me, I think it's a matter of just kind of raising good humans who have that interest in multiculturalism. And the way we bring it into our family is mostly through books, through books, but also through Netflix and YouTube and all of those internet platforms as well.
Yeah. And I love that you said you're trying to raise kids who are curious, because I think kids are inherently curious, right? And so the more information we give them, we just have to give them just a little bit of information to spark that curiosity and to go like, I want to know more about this, or that's super interesting. Like a good example that I've been using lately is on Instagram. This year in particular, I was very intentional about the media that I consume and who I follow on Instagram, because that's the question I had to ask myself, like, what does my Instagram feed look like? Is it all just Nigerian recipes? Like, what does it look like? And so I made an intentional effort to diversify that. And so what happens is, because of course we're in a pandemic and our kids are always around, if I'm sitting there scrolling through my Instagram and my daughter or, one of my boys is hanging over my shoulder trying to ask me something, and they see you scrolling. And so she saw me scrolling through like Native American, one of the people that I follow, she's Native American, and she had these beautiful costumes, not costumes, traditional attire on. And so she goes, oh, that's interesting. What's that? And then so from that, we learned more about that. So I think just making efforts to be intentional, about what we consume, that eventually seeps to our children and helps spark that curiosity. I absolutely love it. So I came, well, I should have said this in the beginning. I came to know about you because, as I said, you're an Atlas subscriber. And so you would post the unboxing, and you will post whatever you're learning that month. And I think you posted that you're using it to support the homeschooling curriculum. And I just thought that was so cool. That made me happy. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I was like, I need to bring her on. So tell me a little bit more about how you use Atlas Book Club box to supplement your homeschooling curriculum. And if for everyone out there, if this is your first time here, I just dove right in today. Atlas Book Club is a book subscription box company focused on globally diverse children's books. So we send out boxes every month, set in different parts of the world, with a book along with materials to immerse the child in the culture of the country being featured. So that being said, Kat uses our boxes as part of her curriculum. So tell us how you do that, Kat. Tell us why you started doing that, and then how you implement that.
Sure. So I first joined Atlas Book Club because I wanted to diversify my children's library. So I was really thinking of it mostly as a book service, kind of a book of the month club as a way to
Mhm.
introduce stories and characters who didn't look like my children, who came from different places, and just kind of increase that global awareness and appreciation. But what I found in our first subscription box, which was in June, so it was the Jamaica subscription box, was that it wasn't just a book of the month club, it was a whole platform and jumping off point for us to talk about another country and another culture. And so I got really excited because I realized you had done so much of the work for me kind of by curating all of these topics about the particular culture. And so the way we use the book club is I know what's coming. You can go online or you get an email explaining what country you'll be visiting that month. And so I'll know kind of what country vaguely, what we're going to be using and when it's going to be arriving. And then I plan a whole week of their kind of social studies curriculum around the box. So the first day is kind of our unboxing where we read the story. They're always really interested. And you pick, at least with our picture book subscription, you just pick gorgeous books. I mean, it's just, we love reading them. Lyrically, they're amazing, but also the illustrations are always fascinating. So my kids really enjoy the books. And then we'll spend another day doing the project. There's always some sort of craft or project. And we try to usually build out from it. So for example, with the United Kingdom box with Nimesh the Adventurer, I think the box itself included a pirate ship that you could build, but I had my kids make a whole diorama, like we used shoe boxes and kind of made like a little sea scene that they got really excited about, and they still play with it. So kind of like an arts and crafts day. And then we have a video day where we go on YouTube and different streaming platforms, and we'll explore the music, any kind of traditional food or attire, just watch a lot of videos. My son's really into animals, so he always wants to know what animals live in those countries. So we'll usually study the animals. And then finally for my daughter, because she's in 3rd grade and we're working on more presentation skills and research skills, I'll usually have her pick one thing that interests her from the box and have her research it during the week. Just go on Google and look for things on Google. And then she actually makes a little presentation to present to me and my son. And so we just got the Canada box, which is studying Indigenous people, First Nation. And she was really into the dream catcher. So she studied so she's been working all week on learning about dream catchers. So next week she'll be presenting to us on the history and usage of dream catchers in Native American culture. So it's really cute. I mean, honestly, it's so much more than just a little subscription box. Like, it's been honestly a really good way for me to build out a social studies curriculum for the kids.
Oh my gosh. Like, my nerdy heart is so happy.
Well, it's like, as a homeschool parent, I'm like, okay, I'm probably only going to be doing this 1 year, so I can really get into it for that year.
It makes my little nerdy heart so happy. Like, I just love the structure that you've built around this. I mean, and I was saying somewhere the other day, like, I never dreamt that it would be something that would, I knew it would resonate with people because I saw how it resonated with my kids and my kids' friends, but to see people like you now building around it is just absolutely fantastic. So I want to kind of summarize your structure for folks out there, if that's something that they think may be helpful and they'd like to replicate. So you have every month, I believe, like the first week of the month, we send out an email letting everyone know which country we're going to explore. So I think a couple of days ago, y'all got an email that we're exploring Poland. Yay! Yes, there are these, if I may say so myself, December books are amazing. They're coming.
Oh, great.
They're coming. So we send out an email letting everyone know the country we're exploring. And we usually have a video announcement by me that's posted on Facebook too and Instagram. So what Kat does is she learns about the country and then she kind of mentally prepares or, actually prepares for the week to come. They have a day of unboxing. The next day they do like the arts and crafts. So the hatch box comes with a craft. The nest junior box, the next level up, comes with a little bit more of a brainy craft. So it's usually like a crossword puzzle or like word search or something like that, or something that the kids can really get into. And then the next day she does a video day where you research like music and, other things and animals. In fact, I believe sometimes on our fun fact, if it's an unusual fun fact, we'll include like animals. So I think
Yes. In Australia, there were a bunch of animals. And so for Australia.
What did we do? Oh, we sent out that little koala bear.
Koala? Yeah, the little koala. Yeah, my son was really excited about
that one. Yeah. So we'll do, animals if it's like an interesting one. I think Jamaica, we did some kind of bird. I can't remember.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah. So anyway, so you look into that and your kids have a love for animals, so they explore the animals. And then lastly, you have your child pick an aspect and she does a presentation. What I found is my kids are 13, 11, and 9. They love doing Google slides. I don't know what it is about Google slides.
She gets so proud of herself.
So I think that's just absolutely fantastic. So thank you for sharing that. So which part of the box, I think I know the answer to this question. Which part of the box is your kid's favorite and why?
So it's funny because they both love the book. So the book, obviously, they're really excited about. But my son tends to gravitate toward the craft, like the hands-on aspect of it.
Yes.
And then, so he always wants to do the craft first. And then my daughter, actually, she's really into stationery. So she likes the bookmark. She likes a little postcard. And she's got all these pen pal friends of hers. So she's so funny about it. She's kind of selective. She's like, oh, well, this friend I think would be interested in this culture. And so we have a correspondence day as part of her writing. And so whenever we have the Atlas Book Club subscription that week, she'll fill out the little postcard and send it to one of her friends.
This is awesome because I didn't even know all of this. This is great. And for folks who don't know, included in the box, they get a postcard because our goal, our intention is to kind of replicate the exploration of a new country and culture. So what do you do when you travel to a new country? You pick up a souvenir, you get a postcard and send to your loved one. Hopefully you get to learn more about that culture. So that's the experience we try to recreate in our Atlas book. So I love that she's sending her postcard to like, oh, I love it.
Send them out. She's all about it. She was really excited about the powwow one that came out with Canada. She sent that to a friend of hers and just thought it was the coolest thing.
Yeah. And I think, I was talking to a friend the other day that, there's so much detail in the Atlas box in the sense that every single thing you see on there, a lot of thought has gone into it. And so with the postcard, in addition to replicating that experience of traveling, and so you get a postcard, the intention was so you share that knowledge, because on the back of the postcard is culturally relevant information to that culture or that country or region, because what's the point of learning all this stuff if there's no one to talk to about it, so that's the intention. So, they can say, hey, guess what, hi, how are you? By the way, this is what I'm learning, about a different country, so that's one very specific, intentional detail. Another one, I keep waiting for people to point out, a few people point out like little details and I get excited when they catch it. But with the bookmarks, if you look at the top of the bookmark, Captain Turn, who's our mascot, will say, hi, it was 10,000 miles from the country we visited before. So I don't know if you picked that up yet.
Yes, actually, because they love putting the sticker on, because then they can kind of look at the map, like, okay, how close is this to the country we visited before?
Last month, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because obviously, like my poor children have barely left the house since March.
Yeah.
Through stuff like, through Atlas, through YouTube, they feel like they're little world travelers. It's awesome.
So did you travel a lot before pandemic? Were you a
My
traveling
husband
family?
and I had traveled extensively in college, and
Mhm.
we've been starting to make plans to take the kids to Israel. That was going to be our first big international trip because my husband
Yeah,
still has so much family there, and he grew up going all the time back and forth between Israel and America.
yeah,
And we've traveled domestically with the kids,
yeah.
mostly in the Southwest region. Like we take a lot of trips to California, Colorado,
Mhm.
and they were finally getting close to an age where I felt a little bit more comfortable kind of pressing the boundaries of how
Yeah.
long of a flight they could be on. So they haven't gone anywhere internationally yet, but I think Israel will be the first big trip that we can take once it's safe to travel again. And because they're exploring all these other cultures, they just totally have the travel bug. Like they both really
Mhm.
want to go to a lot of places. Like we were learning about grocery shopping in different parts of the world this week.
Yeah.
And so my daughter now is obsessed with floating markets in Thailand. She
Yes.
wants to go eat like mango sticky rice in Thailand.
Oh,
Like, okay, honey, we'll get right on that once it's not a global
yeah.
pandemic.
Oh, I love, and that's the beauty of books, right? It just expands your world and it just fuels your imagination. I mean, I just absolutely love it because it makes you, I mean, first of all, it allows you to envision all these different places so that when you actually go there, you have some context, of the place that you're visiting. Oh, I love it. Love it. Okay. I saw that there's a question here. Okay. For those of us who haven't subscribed yet, is there a particular time of the year that we should? Are we behind? Do we need to catch up? You're right on time. There is no behind. There's no getting behind. You're right on time. You can subscribe. So if you subscribe before December 18, you get the December box. That's just how a cycle works. Any day the 19th or beyond, you're going to get the January box. But guess what? We have past boxes on sale. Some of them are selling out. So if you want, you can go to, and we'll include the link down here somewhere, where you can go and check out some of our past boxes and buy those. You can buy those, individually, and you get that and see what we're all about. If you want, before committing to a subscription, that's totally fine and awesome. In fact, that way you can pick from different countries. And we launched last year, November, we visited 21 now countries, if you count Poland. Yeah,
Wow.
we're visiting Poland in December. So even that like blows my, I'm like, oh my gosh, we've done 21. That's a lot of work.
I know, right? You've been busy.
We've been busy. We've been busy. So let me see if we have any other questions from folks online. I don't see anyone. So I just have a couple more questions for you. What impact would you say receiving these boxes have had on your kids?
I think it's really opened their eyes to people who aren't like them, that they don't see on a daily basis. It's introduced them to new languages, new names,
Mhm.
new cultures. My primary goal as a parent, when it comes to global awareness and multiculturalism, is I don't want them thinking of white Christianity as the default. I just want them thinking more globally than that and more diversely than that. And so we've been able to build a library that reflects so many different cultures and different types of people. And I think that's been really good for my kids to be able to see that. And it's also given them this sense of exploration of other cultures, like not just hearing the name of the country, but also seeing the people and hearing their stories from a very authentic perspective, I think has been really good for them, because I don't want it coming from me. I want it coming from the people who are from those countries. And so that's what the Atlas book has been able to do for us, is that these are resources I don't think I ever would have found on my own. And you can tell that there's so much authenticity in the voices and the stories. And the kids completely reap the benefit from that, because I think that they're just kind of learning so much when they open that box up. And they're still little, so part of me is like, how much of this are they actually absorbing? But then they'll say things and make connections that make me realize, oh, okay, this is actually, I'm laying groundwork for something bigger, and that's been fun to watch.
Oh, I love that. I love that because I don't think they're too young because kids pick up on everything. They're just like little sponges and they soak in all this information. And so I think you're doing a fantastic job, Mama, because you're laying the groundwork, like you said, for, raising kids who are compassionate, empathetic, and who are open to not just tolerant of other cultures, but celebrate other cultures, because that's what we do with the boxes. We make sure that we're celebrating this different cultures and showing kids that one country or one culture is not represented by one thing, because that's our goal, is to what we call shatter the single story and highlight and showcase the rich diversity that exists within cultures and within countries. So I am so happy that's just resonating. And they're gonna grow up and they're going to just be super open-minded and super what's prepared. That's what they're going to be prepared for the future workforce. They're going to be super prepared adults, because that's where this country is heading, workforce that's going to be more globally diverse than ever. So that's awesome. That's awesome. And I want to add quickly, oh, we're running out of time. Okay. I wanted to add really quickly what you said about authentic voices. That is probably our top criteria for a book. And if you notice, I can't think of any that hasn't been own voices. We are very intentional and strategic about the books that we pick. We make sure that, they're authentic, they're told by own voices. And part of that is, amplifying the voices of these authors and illustrators, amplifying their work for them to get the recognition that they, definitely deserve. And also amplifying publishers who are doing that type of work, because some of these independent, smaller publishing houses are doing fantastic work and publishing these amazing stories, so that's definitely one thing that we make it a point to do. So I'm going to check my questions. No more questions. So anyway, thank you so much. Like, really, from the bottom of my heart. I mean, it warms my heart to see like the pictures and your daughter putting on the sticker. And
she's such a little sales lady. She was like, Mom, you have your interview coming up, so let me show the box off.
She's like, I love when she said, oh, Atlas Book Club has just amazing souvenirs in their books. They have cool
always
stuff.
Get me the best stuff at Atlas. And you don't have to sell it this hard.
I was so tickled. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. And it just brings me so much joy that it's resonating with them. So on that note, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you for curating such amazing boxes for us every month. We're super excited about Poland. As I mentioned, I have Polish heritage, and so it'll be a really fun way to explore that country with the kids.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for the past half hour. And we'll drop some of that information, those tips that Kat mentioned, we'll drop them in here somewhere. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them, because I know some of you are going to be watching this at a later time. You can drop them in the comments. I'll answer questions. And if I can't answer them, I'll shoot Kat an email and see if she has any answers for you. But thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Happy holidays. I almost forgot. Bye, y'all. All right.